And welcome back to Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I'm joined by Colin Watt, Natasha Meikle, Russell Boyce and Lawrence Connolly. Just to look back on the first half at Celtic Park, we know that there's another game going on up at Pittodrie. Colin is cheating because he's watching that on his laptop. And we also know that one of these sides is being beaten at this moment in time, and it's not the Celtic women's team. Natasha, talk us through your thoughts of that first half.
A good first half. I think the girls are doing well. I thought we maybe started a bit deep. Could have done with pressing slightly higher up against the Rangers back line and stretching the game. But it's a much bigger pitch than you'd be used to playing on as well. And we need to try and use that to our advantage. It's still 0-0. I'd say Rangers are maybe getting a bit more joy down the wings than we are. But the keepers haven't really been tested yet. There's been no clear-cut chances for either team. And it's remaining slightly cagey. Rangers missed a great chance in the first half when Brownlee put it over the bar from a cross ball. Celtic had a half chance when Donaldson hit one sort of towards the end of the first half, but nothing clear cut, still 0-0 and still very much in the game.
Now, Russell, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I've actually played at Celtic Park. I've tread onto the hallowed turf, and it is quite the experience. It was a bit like tonight because it was completely empty other than a few people in the main stand. But I'm watching that game tonight and, you know, I am very impressed. I'm going to make a point on the back of what Natasha said there. The miss on the 19th minute. Now, I know for a fact Lawrence will remember that. Was it as bad as Peter Van Vossen's miss against Celtic?
That's what I thought straight away.
It was up there.
It was Van Vossen. It was definitely Sibo-esque.
I mean, it was pretty poor. To be honest, Celtic got a bit of a let-off there. Russell, this is the first time you've watched the Celtic women's team, and you did your job properly because you didn't even know what the Celtic Aberdeen score was at half-time there. Colin's cheating by watching it on the laptop. What was your thoughts, first 45 of watching women's football?
I was shouting at the screen after 3 minutes, so that was it.
Yes.
The job was done. And that's a good sign, do you know what I mean? But I was engrossed. I really enjoyed it. I think the one thing I really did notice was that the referee seems to let the game flow a wee bit more. It's not as stop-start as what I'm finding men's football becoming now with any sort of contact and going to ground. There was a wee bit of needle out there, and I thought Warrington in particular, she was a tiger at left back. I definitely took a shine to her. I thought it was a wee bit fortunate with the Van Vossen efforts, definitely. But the one shot we did have with the left foot curler, I think she's kind of pulled out of hitting that with conviction because they thought there was a foul going to be flagged right before it. But as Lauren said before the game, play the whistle. I think if she hits that with conviction, it doesn't go straight. I think with that bend on it either side of the keeper, you're looking at top bins. So I think you've got to play the whistle in a big game like this. So that was the only sort of downside. They didn't take advantage of that opportunity.
Talking about playing the whistle, I will come to yourself, Lawrence, to talk about the whistler and whether or not you noticed any difference in the first half when it comes to how this game is actually being looked after by the women in black.
Well, 10 minutes in, Keever's turned her. She's running down the wing and she just takes her out. No attempt to play the ball. It's a card all day long. What is it thinking? Just mental stuff, mate. She must have left her cards in the dressing room.
And by the way, the passion shown when that was happening for you, Lawrence, was quite impressive.
Talking about a half time, he ended up for that rugby tackle that gave a free kick to Rangers. Hey, I thought we were going to go instant with the ref, but no, yeah. There was a rugby tackle almost stopping a Celtic break, and it was a free kick to Rangers. But, what do we expect?
Do you agree, though, like what Russell said, there is a flow to the game? There's an ebb and a flow to the game that, unfortunately, with the modern game and the men's game, I don't think we see that often, do we?
Listen, I don't think we've got an enforcer like Teagarden. I mean, she's showing some nice touches, but she certainly knows how to keep the position out of the game as well. Yeah, and I do agree with Russell. It has flowed a lot better. There's going to be some contact in it. We're not a full contact sport, but you'd expect some contact in football. But, we've definitely missed Teagarden this season. I think she's shown a lot of good touches.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, she's a standout for me, looking at her performance in the first 45 and after a serious injury as well, not long coming back in, but does it look as though she's been out for a lengthy period? And the other player that's already been mentioned, Chloe Warren, and by the way, she's playing in my position, left back, so I was very, very impressed with Chloe Warrington as well, because just about everything was going down the Rangers right, and I thought that she was a standout. But then, just before half time, she showed a bit of ability in terms of her ball playing as well when she had that wee turn at the halfway line. So I've been really impressed. And when I've been looking at it as well, I'm trying to figure out, Colin, what, when you look at what Celtic represents, what Rangers represent. And I know that when you look through the age groups, for example, you've got a lot of managers who like to have a style, a philosophy of football, so that obviously when there's a transition from one area to the next as they step up the ladder to the first team, and obviously that's not going to be the same with this women's team for obvious reasons. But when it comes to the style and what you perceive to be a Celtic style, I think what probably exemplifies that the best was I was speaking to Tom Campbell, who is a fantastic writer and a Celtic historian, and he spoke about all you need to do if you want to look at the styles of Celtic and Rangers is you look at the greatest ever Celt and you look at the greatest ever Rangers player. And that shows you what Rangers represent against what Celtic represents. So you look at Jimmy Johnston, entertaining, great to watch, a wee jinky dribbling player, fantastic footballer against John Gregg, for example. And it's all about, establishment and being a hard man and being well drilled and all these kind of things. And I think watching that first half, Rangers were definitely dominant. They were definitely the dominant team. Do you think there is a style that flows through the clubs regardless of who's wearing the jersey?
Yeah, definitely. You could see that in the first half. The girls are trying to play the ball out from the back. As you mentioned earlier, Chloe Warrington getting on the ball a lot, but that comes from the fact that we're not trying to play the long ball. They're trying to get it on the ground, and I'm sure the surface at Celtic Park's probably far better than the surface that they play on at K Park in East Kilbride. So they're making the most of the fact that they've got that facility there. I like the link-up play between Warrington and Kiva Keenan as well. They seem to be causing quite a bit of trouble down that left-hand side. The only thing I think for me that kind of isn't the Celtic style is having the one up top, and I think Sarah Ewens has really been struggling to get the support up there. She can't really hold the ball up. And the service into her hasn't been the best so far. I just wonder if that's something they'll maybe change in the second half and maybe go with two up top. If Fran Alonso decides that he has to go for it, which I think, as Natasha said before we came on air, this is a must-win, so you'd like to think that they will go for it. But that battle between Brogan Hay, the Rangers' right midfielder, and Chloe Warrington in the first half has been really interesting. I think Hay's got the better of her a couple of times, especially for that one that got put across goal for the Van Vossen /Sibo miss. But yeah, it's been an interesting battle in the first half. And just to keep you updated, at Pittodrie, it's half time. Aberdeen are winning 1-0, and Odsonne Edwards missed about 5 sitters.
Now, is it about 5? Because a minute ago you said it was 4, Colin.
So just before the
seriously,
half time, yeah.
Right. Well, keep us updated with the first half as well, Colin, of Celtic's clash with Aberdeen up at Pittodrie. Russell obviously stuck to the rules and was watching the women's game with his full attention. You've had one eye on your laptop. Give us a wee chat through the first half. Same old from Celtic, losing a goal from a corner.
Yeah, another kind of needless goal to concede from a corner. McGinn puts a cracking ball in, one in the air by Constein, and then there's nobody really picking up Ferguson's. He taps it in from about a yard out. And it's just been the same old story for Celtic. The commentator actually said it feels as though Celtic are doing everything at a snail's pace tonight. And I'm going, it's not just tonight, mate. It's been all season. There's been that lack of urgency all season. And quite a few of the kind of mainstays have really let Celtic down. And Edward, I don't know what it is, if he's off form, if he's out of confidence, but there's been 3 or 4 chances he should have at least stuck away in that one. Right at the end, he actually was flagged off as offside. I've just seen it back there. It just kind of shows you he's just not in form, and it's another reason why I probably wouldn't have picked him to play tonight. But Celtic will need a far better performance in this second half if they're going to come away from Pittodrie with anything tonight.
Now, see, when you look at that first half, Natasha, it looks to me as though Rangers were the home side. Did you get that feeling yourself?
I think it's because they dominate the ball, and I think they have slightly edged it in terms of quality in the first half. So I think they look a lot more comfortable on the ball, and I think they look a lot more dominant in possession. That comes from them probably slightly being the better side. And we've discussed that before the game. They're the team in form. They are, unfortunately, the team to beat at the moment. So it was always going to be expected that they were going to have more of the ball. What's positive from a Celtic perspective is we've really limited what they've been able to do with it. Let us directly contrast that to the men's game, where we're talking about losing more goals to balls into the box. Yes, in the women's game, Rangers have had the ball down the wide a lot. They've put a few balls into the box. But the difference here is, the women's team are soaking it up. So far, the first half, we've been handling it. Apart from, obviously, that terrible miss, really limited their chances, and they've not had anything that clear-cut other than the miss from Brownlee. So when you look at that, yes, they've been dominant on the ball. They've had more possession, and they do look a bit more comfortable. But to what end? Coping with it well, kept it to 0-0 at half-time. Maybe Alonso fancies changing it slightly in the second half. And we go out and look for the 3 points. So I'm okay with the first half performance. As expected, happy that we didn't lose any goals. And looking towards creating more chances and perhaps scoring one of our own in the second half.
Here's hoping. I think there was some similarities between what we've been watching all season. The fact that we're playing one up top, the fact there's a bit of a lack of width as well. But I need to come back to you, Colin, because I'm qualifying one of the comments I made before the game around Fran Alonso. And it has been one of these seasons where we've been clutching at straws from time to time. But you did suggest that, some time ago, that should we have parted ways with Neil Lennon, we know that we eventually did, we should actually, give the job to Fran Alonso. What was your thinking behind that?
I just think when you look at it, he's someone that's had a lot of coaching experience before at a high level. Not necessarily as a first team coach, but he's someone who has a deep understanding of the game. And I think you saw that in the first half with the way that he's set the girls out to play. They're playing an attractive style of football. It's not this kind of long ball, and they're actually moving at a bit of pace, something which even the Aberdeen commentators can pick up that Celtic absolutely don't have. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of comments in different WhatsApp groups saying this might be the slowest that Celtic's ever played. So, I mean, you're looking for that bit of urgency, and it's something we've not had this season. And whatever he's doing with the women's team, Alonso seems to get the performances out of him. So, I mean, we're only talking about putting someone in temporary charge between now and the end of the season. It gives him the experience of coaching at probably what is just it is a higher level than the women's game, but then he can take that back and he can help develop these young girls coming through as well.
You see, well, that's a good point, because there is a development programme with the women's team as well, Colin. But one thing Fran Alonso did say in his pre-match was that this is a World Cup final to the Celtic side, and that many of the players were Celtic fans, and I loved hearing that. And I know that, there's probably been occasions in the past with people kissing the jersey and all this kind of stuff, and they're just doing it to appease us fans. But he did say it with some meaning. He said that when he took the job, one of the things the board says to him is that you will be playing games at Celtic Park. So they were looking really up for this game this evening. And the game has kicked off, so we'll go back to the action. And hopefully Natasha's right and we can craft out some chances and open the scoring at Celtic Park. Thanks everybody for getting involved. We will keep an eye via Colin Watt on the performance up at Pittodrie, but we're concentrating on the Celtic women's team against Rangers tonight. So thanks to the ACSOM contributors for joining me tonight once again on A Celtic State of Mind.